Hello and welcome to South Asia Chat, a podcast brought to you by the Institute of South Asian Studies at the National University of Singapore. I'm your host, Wini Fred Gurung, Research Analyst at the Institute. In February 2022, the Nepal government ratified the controversial Millennium Challenge Corporation Nepal Compact, which has been on hold for 5 years. In this episode, we will discuss the series of events that led to the ratification of the deal and also analyze the implications of this move on Nepal's domestic politics as well as its foreign policy. To discuss this, we have with us today Mr. Lekhanath Pandey, Assistant Professor of Journalism at Nepal's Tribhuvan University. Welcome to South Asia Chat, Mr. Pandey.
Great to be here with you, Ms. Wini.
Yes. So my first question is on the differences in opinion among the political parties in Nepal regarding the MCC Nepal Compact. So 4 parties in the ruling coalition, led by Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deoba, voted to ratify the compact. However, the opposition Communist Party of Nepal, a unified Marxist-Leninist, led by former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, withdrew from voting despite showing its support initially. Can you please share your thoughts on the decision by Oli and his party?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think although the CPM-UML did not cast a vote in favor of the MCC, I think the party and its leader were not against the idea of endorsing it from the very outset. But since the acceptance of the MCC compact was being highly politicized and divisive, primarily from some hardliner left-wing parties, including the former Maoist rebels, the CPM-UML and its leader, former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, were trying to avoid the public criticism, and they were the ones who were instrumental to endorse the American project. So, as I said earlier, since the grant assistance was being highly divisive and the political parties as well as the grassroots levels, the CPN-UML and its leader actually wanted to show a neutral posture on the context of the forthcoming local elections, which is slated next month. Therefore, it was their calculative move not to take a part in the vote. Nevertheless, to my understanding, they had already assured the American side that they would not oppose the project, while the ruling coalition parties tabled it for the parliamentary vote. Besides, there were long differences with the CPM-UML and the Speaker of the House at the moment, because the Speaker of the House had helped them remain absent in the vote. They had been demanding either the resignation of the speaker or revoking his earlier decision to recognize the 14 CPN-UML members of the parliament who were earlier removed by the party and its leader. CPM-UML had been obstructing parliament's business for the last 7 months on the same issue. That became a pretext, I think, for them to avoid such a crucial vote in the House.
You mentioned the election, so my next question is on the impact of the ratification of the compact on the upcoming elections in Nepal. Okay. So Nepal is slated to hold the general elections later this year. So do you think the MCC will have any impact on the election?
You're right. Nepal is going to hold a local election in May and general elections and provincial elections in later this year, maybe in November. But it is not. It is yet to be announced. The MCC could be an agenda for those who have been opposing the project from the very outset. Since the discourse of the US grant has become divisive among the people's level, at the people's levels, some people might cast vote for those parties and leaders who had opposed the compact. Nevertheless, to my understanding, it seems that there is a general understanding among the major political forces in the country, both within the ruling coalition partners as well as the main opposition party, that not to further flare up the issue. in the context of upcoming elections. CPM-UML leader KP Sharma Oli himself had earlier directed his party cadres to this effect. Therefore, though it might be taken up by some fringe parties, especially from the left quarters, it would not become a prominent election agenda of major political parties and therefore might not drastically affect the election outcomes. That's my personal understanding.
So the MCC was ratified with 12 interpretative declarations, which attempted to address the issues raised by those who had concerns about the compact. So, firstly, how effective is this declaration? And secondly, do you think that this declaration might bind Dioba's hands in implementing the full extent of the compact?
Well, I think we need to get clear why the interpretative declarations was required. There were huge disinformation campaigns against the project from the very outset, from multiple quarters. Even some American officials remarked in the past also created some confusions because some even American officials who had visited earlier in Kathmandu had told that it was a part of the Indo-Pacific strategy. Many hardliner leftist parties voiced in the same manner. The disinformation, other disinformation components also included. That was such as it was part of the Indo-Pacific strategy aiming to counter or encircle China. It would compromise Nepal's national sovereignty, or as well as it also help lands the US troops in Kathmandu and Nepal. Such a narrative was spread like a wildfire across the country at the people's level, at the grassroots level. Some US officials also reportedly alleged that China helped fan such a narrative through their, through the some hardliner communist parties in Nepal. At the moment, at the time, opinion makers and supporters of the project were publicly vilified and even threatened through social media posts. In such a situation, many people got confused about the real motive of the US assistance. Therefore, in my opinion, the 12-point declarations was essential to help clear such disinformation campaigns regarding the MCC. In fact, it was primarily meant to address the prevailing negative public sentiments towards the project. Now, since the American side has already welcomed the endorsement of the MCC grant from the Parliament with the additional interpretive declaration, I think it has served the motive of endorsing the grant as well as given a face saving to those who had initially expressed their reservation on it, including to the ruling coalition partners such as former Maoist rebels, as well as socialist parties that was formed after the breaking of the erstwhile Communist Party of Nepal. This has also given a moral shield to Nepal, in my opinion, in the case the US side tried to put some undue pressures that is contrary to the local laws, because some provisions of the project has contradictory to the local laws. Therefore, I think it would I would see it would not bind the hands of Prime Minister Deuba or any future Prime Minister of Nepal to execute the project and complete it within the given time frame.
So, China has always maintained its displeasure against the MCC and has fanned the narrative of the compact being a part of the United States' larger Indo-Pacific strategy. Now, post ratification, Beijing is exploring new ways to increase its engagement with Kathmandu. The first being the recent visit by China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi to Nepal. So, how do you see Nepal balancing its relations between the two powers moving forward?
Well, it is an interesting question. It became evident that Beijing had an issue with the US compact because it publicly dubbed the project, whether it is a development aid or Pandora's box, and it even issued a kind of warning that for the United States that not to play coercive diplomacy against Nepal in the name of development assistance. I think since all major political forces in Nepal have come to one stand to accept the US granted at the time, China is exploring new ways to widen its engagement with the Himalayan Republic, and it is not being expressive about the project, as expressive as it used to be earlier. Of course, Nepal has has to maintain a delicate balance with China and USA, as well as its southern neighbor India. Besides China and India, Nepal consider besides China and India, Nepal considers the United States as a distant neighbor, given its long association and engagement in the country and its economic and social development. It has almost 70 years of history. I think to make such issues balance, Nepal needs to convince the Chinese side that it would not allow any anti-China activities in and from Nepal. China has some genuine security concerns in Nepal. It has also interest in trade and investment and economic cooperation and energy cooperation. And Nepali side also has also already tried to convince the Chinese side that this is purely a development assistance. It has nothing to do or nothing to harm, nothing such components to harm the Chinese interest in Nepal. During Chinese foreign minister's visit in Kathmandu, Nepal's foreign minister, Dr. Nair Kharka, categorically said that Nepal would not allow any anti-China activities. And regarding the project, this project is purely a development aid. It was based on Nepal request. Nepal had done enough homework to get this aid, and some untoward, incident took place, whether in the run-up to the whether to endorse the project or not, but we would accept it, we would execute it, and we would maintain it as a development aid. I think Chinese side has realized that it is on the need of Nepal. Likewise, Nepal would also need to make a conducive environment for the smooth execution of the MCC project. In this regard, it should not allow any disinformation for any further disinformation campaigns and discourage any negative campaigns against it, since we have already accepted and endorsed it. Besides, I'm also looking forward to seeing that Nepal request these three global powers, namely China, United States, and India, to consider its geopolitical sensitivities and should avoid playing one against another.
So my last question is on the comparison between the MCC Nepal Compact and China's Belt and Road Initiative. Nepal signed on to China's Belt and Road Initiative in 2017. However, no project has really taken off. Also, during 1 year's recent visit, 9 agreements were signed between Nepal and China on various areas of cooperation like railway and vaccines, but none relating to the BRI. So what impact do you see the MCC having on China and Nepal making any progress on projects under the BRI?
China is Nepal's close neighbors. It is next door neighbors. Beside BRI, Nepal and China has huge cooperation in other sectors as well. China extended its helping hand during the earthquake, 2015 earthquake in Nepal. Beside, there were other slew of agreements during the multiple high-level visits between the two sides. Despite that, Nepal and China signed a BRI agreement in 2017. Since then, not a single project has been moved forward. To my understanding, the main obstacles in this regard is the modality of the financing of the projects to the projects. Nepali side has always preferred either the grant assistance like the US MCC Compact or some sort of soft loan or concessional loans from the China initiated Exim Bank or uh, Asian Infrastructure Bank or something like that. Nepal's Prime Minister also expressed this during his meeting with the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi last month. However, China side is pushing for some commercial loans rather than soft loan, grant assistance, or concession loans to finance the BRI projects in Nepal. I think China has the same modality of financing the BRI projects in other countries as well, and they are also pushing the same modality in Nepal. To my knowledge, once the modality of the financing is clear and understanding between the two side rates, BRI projects might take off. Until then, it is not move ahead as we expect. I think that is what the situation is.
Thank you for sharing your insights with us, Mr. Pandey.
Thank you, Winnie, for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here and sharing some thoughts with this South Asia chat.
You were listening to South Asia Chat. To learn more about our work, visit us at isas.nus.edu.sg. You can also get updates on our publications, events, and podcasts through social media. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.